podcast. I am not Adam Ponophobia Cogswell because he just had a kid this morning, right about 12:30 in the morning. We're not going to disclose too much more than that, but very exciting for him. That's
Whoops.
Apparently. We have a janky stream here tonight, if it's even live. But so if you were watching live at twitch.tv/Trinity Force Podcast, check it out. Santana is running the show in the background. And we have stuff to talk about that I haven't read the doc for because I didn't expect to be on today. It's been a weird set of days. So, Dom, you want to talk about? No, we'll just let you talk. I got back from a big frisbee tournament that if anyone listens to this and plays Ultimate Frisbee knows what Wildwood is. That's what I got back from. So my liver is surprised that I'm still drinking. So.
Yeah, probably not good.
Couple pieces of business before we get down to the actual League of Legends talk. We are still running our sponsor with Buddha Boxers. So BuddhaBoxers.com. Use the code TrinityForce at checkout to get 20% off of your order. We talked at length about these in the past, so no real reason to go to there, but the promo is still running. Baby Cogswell did arrive, as Mitch mentioned. No idea how long Adam's going to be out for right now. We are going to keep the train running, even if it ends up being a wreck, and it's probably going to be a wreck. And then the other thing, if you have any questions for the crew, feel free to write to us, feedback@trinityforcepodcast.com, and we will get back to you. We'll either answer your question on air, or if it's, a little more specific to you and your style of play and not something really suitable for on air, we often send email replies back as well. So we're going to get back to you one way or the other.
Yeah, that's actually also... Sorry, go finish
no.
So I think it's actually a really good time for questions. I know that we've had a lot of those over the past, let's say 2 months. Had a lot of listener question episodes, or just involved those a lot in our episodes. And one thing that's coming up is obviously a set patch for Worlds. We're getting closer and closer to that point where the season's ending, so people have questions about how should I climb, how should I get ready to climb, etc. And then the patch episodes are going to start decreasing because they're going to start locking in for the end of the season. The one thing that we do usually get at this point in time is the preseason kind of patches, which obviously start spanning like a 4-episode extravaganza. But we've been getting so few pieces of the runes, which I think just got one or two new runes today that we could talk about. But I think it bears waiting for having a big overlook at what the rune system will be like or what the options are going to be. So it's cool to see those. If you haven't checked them out, Riot keeps posting 1 or 2 a week, just kind of giving you an idea of hey, here's what we're doing, here's what the things you used to do, kind of like Thunderlord's Decree and Stormreader's Surge. They just showed what the new runes are going to look like. And it's interesting. Kind of just,
it's intriguing.
Hey, three-hit passive.
Well, we can mention it briefly since we were talking about it. What they're doing is they're kind of combining the names because why not? It's Thunderlords,
Spell Raiders. Sir, the Storm Raiders one is an absolute tongue twister and should never have existed.
One of them's Thunder
Slinger's Surge and
that
Storm Lord's
that's a
Mandate.
garbage name.
So
name.
Stormlord's Mandate is Thunderlord's Decree, and now instead of it being just kind of 3 damage ticks to proc, it's gonna be a combination of 3 unique abilities and or individual auto attacks. So Morgana W will no longer proc Thunderlords. Cassiopeia Q will no longer proc Thunderlords on its own.
Well, it's interesting to note that those are both the same. So you are either getting it with the Stormlords or Spell Slingers. Each one has that unique 3-hit kind of thing where you have to use 3 unique things. But you Storm Raider Surge is no longer a percentage of health. You get 3 of those and you get a crazy move speed buff. Kind of it's imagine if you use Thunderlords now. But you could get a move speed buff instead of the damage bonus.
Keep in mind that these aren't changes to the masteries necessarily. These are runes. These will be different effects that you can get.
There are no masteries anymore. I'm pretty sure it's just runes.
Just combined.
It's
I thought they were doing both.
No, it's just one system.
So one system that you can edit before games, which is nice. So you don't have rune pages, which is also nice. Welcome season 1. That fucking sucked.
Woo. Yeah, the way they're doing it is it's going to be like a mastery tree, but they're calling it runes. And they just do more powerful things.
Oh, Riot.
Yeah, the Storm Raiders one now looks really good because it's on a 15-second cooldown, and there's no damage percent threshold you need anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that, like, a laning kind of thing of somebody who can jump in, do 3 hits, and then just run away very quickly. It seems like it'll be very good against somebody who's, I don't want to say kiteable, because kite usually infers that you are slowing your opponent in those kind of trades, but somebody who can't return the damage very quickly in the window that you can just get out. Like, I think they should. It was no Camille. That's right. I almost said Fiora, but that was just because we did champ.
Probably fine on Fiora too.
Yeah, probably fine on her too. But yeah, I think that's gonna be. I want to see the tree. Like, that's the one thing we haven't seen is like where these seem to be most of the keystone, or I guess I don't know what they'll be called as the lowest level tier, like the most powerful tier.
Mm-hmm.
We seem to be seeing a lot of those with some like spatterings of other ones that are clearly not in that tier. But where they slot in and how many of them, like, we might know how many, but like where they slot in those tiers isn't really clear yet.
We're still kind of waiting on that, and we probably won't see that till later in, October, probably end of October when Worlds kind of winds down.
I doubt they would announce anything prior to Worlds. They tend to like building that up, and Worlds, lasts better part of a month, 2 months, something like that. Yeah, it lasts for a long time.
Yeah,
I mean, there's 4 weeks of group stages alone.
Yeah, so we've got a while.
Jesus, I haven't been on the rundown in so long that I just don't pay attention for a little bit.
So we're winding things back around. We're getting like one more major balance patch before Worlds, which is this next one. Kind of a lot of things are getting touched, but after that, it's going to be a pretty stable rest of the season. So kind of
we'd hope.
Well, yeah.
Which I guess does bring us back to Adam still has the weekly challenge out. He wants us to keep doing these, pushing them. It's still the same thing as Monday. Adam wants everyone to buy and use a health potion the moment a trade starts. Keep track of your life total after the engage if it's below 100, just to see what's happening, what's going down for you. And like I said on Monday, and then start paying attention to how frustrated you get when you're mashing the button. You think a potion goes off, and then you look at your inventory and realize, oh no, you still got them all.
I've had a couple people in the Discord already point out that they've done this, and I'm very proud. But I actually did it last night unintentionally because I was playing really poorly. Walked as TF into Diana and lived with like 4 HP or something. Yeah, so use your health potions.
So I missed this. Obviously, I wasn't on the episode Monday, and just the way that this is worded makes me laugh because it looks like it's saying the second a trade starts, start backing and then buy a health pot and then use it while you're in base. And I like that a little bit better. I like that. Don't quite go that far, I don't think, because you'll die because you'll just be standing there trying. Hey, I'm trying to buy my health pot.
Right.
It's for the weekly challenge.
Right. As soon as you get hit in lane, go back and TP immediately back to lane with your extra health potion.
And then be using it because you will also walk out of fountain, so you try to keep the same amount of health as possible. This is going to be very.
That's
very
the real challenge: is getting out of fountain with still missing health.
Listeners at home or on the road, however you're doing this, we were wrong. If you were paying attention during the patch notes episode, Santana and I, among others, we were very down on the Shyvana changes. We really didn't think they were going to be that meaningful, and goddamn, we were wrong. That bitch be running amok in the jungle these days.
Yeah, just a little bit. I can actually pull it up since we're going to talk about her a little bit.
You've got the monitor up there.
Hey, look, she jumped 22 spots.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge. And
I'm trying to pull this up right now.
I was looking around all the different MMR thresholds, and it's really all MMRs where she's just performing much, much better than she had been, to the point where like you should really think about adding her to your roster if you're a jungler. She's not doing well out of top lane, so don't take this as some type of as the return of top lane Shyvana or something, but definitely start giving her a look in the jungle. Santana had a few thoughts as to why this was.
It's a lot of the old, one, the damage buffs on her actually mattered now, because of her build path has changed a little bit. People really didn't go off of Bork when they reworked Bork a little bit a while ago. Now they're kind of getting hip to the idea of like, hey, you know what's really good on a melee champion that needs to be in melee range the entire time? Frozen Mallet. So
and since Frozen Mallet has attack damage on it anyway,
it helped their procs. So she's kind of doing this weird Devourer slash. You sometimes see Cinder Hulk. I think Cinder Hulk buffs helped her. We lost Mitch. That's okay. We'll keep going.
Yeah.
So it's really, if you're ahead, you can go Devourer. If you're like kind of behind, or just even, you have the option of going Cinder Hulk, which just makes her a nice frontline tank. Frozen Mallet adds on to Cinder Hulk as well. And then the changes to Thornmail. We're seeing a lot of Thornmail on her too. So
and then she's also she likes Titanic Hydra, and that's kind of the big thing. It's like Frozen Mallet and Hydra earlier are having a lot bigger impact than I think either of us appreciated. Because yeah, I was just as down as you were. I thought these were gonna be.
Yeah, I just thought she's gonna be like, she's okay. Now,
yeah, and
I don't think she's something you're gonna have to put in ban prison. I mean, we're looking. This is still early stats, but I mean, she's not getting a huge play rate. I think if you're more worried about Sejuani or Maokai or stuff like that, go ahead and do that. But it's just something to keep in mind when you're playing solo queue.
Well, and to definitely like reconsider or consider adding to your champion pool, and we're going to get to that type of stuff a little bit later on in the show, I think. But you know, if she's doing really well at all MMRs, but not a lot of people are playing her, like it's a statistically significant sample, but it doesn't mean she's showing up in every single game.
Right.
That's the exact type of champion you want to add to your champion pool right now. You know, the one that's going to make through, that is going to swing the odds of success a little bit in your favor, but that is not going to, you know, likely to get banned or even be contested during champ select.
Right.
You know, so yeah, like give her a hard look. But I just I wanted to call us out because I mean, you and I especially, like, we were the ones who were talking down about it, and then there it was. Data was
the amount of shit I talk about things like, oh yeah, Nasus probably not gonna matter. Oh, these Cho'Gath buffs, psh, whatever. And then it's like, oh nope, I'm wrong most of the time.
Yeah.
So you know.
But yeah, so anyway, moving on. We're kind of trying to keep everything geared towards this kind of end of season. I don't want to call it a sprint yet. I don't feel like we're there, but we're definitely like in the run up or the jog, maybe we'll call it.
Of the marathon, you're getting to that point where you're probably hitting a wall maybe in solo queue, or you're just getting, you know, fatigued from playing all the time. I think we're at that point. But you got to
figure out how to power through and get that second win.
Pretty much,
the finish line is coming up.
Because a lot of you guys have probably like evened out in your solo queue climbing days now and kind of are hovering around the same elo for a while. So this is that wall we're going to try and help you push through.
Yeah. A game I played the other day. I think I might have talked about this. Otherwise, it was in Slack and definitely on Twitter. I had this freaking 80 carry go off about his win condition, and his win condition was literally just going off and farming side lanes and farming until he hit the point where he could win, where he was going to win the game, I guess. And it infuriated. We won the game, so I don't want to like shit on this player and say, oh, you caused me to lose a game or anything like that. I was just really frustrated with the concept that like, oh, there is this one specific thing that if you do it every single game is going to cause you to win. I'm really frustrated with the expression win condition to begin with, because I feel like too many players treat it like it's just this list of things that they have to do and that's going to win them the game, because it's not that simple.
And
if it was that simple, games would never have a losing side. You would win every single game. But the broader thing is that like you can't decide what your quote win condition unquote is at the start of a game and then be unwilling to adapt throughout the rest of the game, because circumstances are going to change. You know, somebody's going to have a rough laning phase. That's going to mean you have to adjust what you're going to do. Maybe it's you that have a rough laning phase, and that means you're going to need to lean on your teammates a little bit more, either to get yourself back into it. Objectives are going to come up that you might not have thought were going to be appropriate for you to chase after, but like the opportunity is too good to pass up. Like, and that means you have to be there and be part of the team and be part of what's going on, or you're going to lose objectives that you really wanted to contest or wanted to grab, and you're going to have to be able to deal with that type of stuff. But you go ahead.
Yeah, but definitely. I mean, I'm even talking to your point. If anybody caught my solo queue adventure stream yesterday, which did not go super well, I was playing a Twisted Fate game mid lane, and I was down 2 levels and like 2 kills at one point because I walked into a Diana at melee range and had the flash at level 1. Good stuff on my part.
That'll do it.
Yeah, we're rusty. But we were down, I think, like 15-ish kills at one point. All outers. Their Graves was really far ahead. But at that point, your win condition is no longer, well, I'm Twisted Fate. I'm going to look for plays in the side lanes. It's, all right, I got to make sure I can wave clear mid. And maybe they'll overextend and we can get a free pick. And that's what we ended up doing for the rest of the game is they overextended. We get a couple kills, take a tower, wind it all back, play defensive, and do it all again. And we eventually caught them out in their jungle and ended the game at like 40 minutes. But win conditions are these things that when you look at them, like when you look in champs, like all right, this is our win condition. We have like a Fiora or a Jax. They're going to split push and do their own thing. But if that Fiora or Jax never get to a point or they're behind in lane, you have to think about, well, maybe I shouldn't be building pure split push. Maybe look for something more of a team fight build if my Jhin got really far ahead in bot lane. And we want to play the game around him instead of like focusing all of our resources in our side lane and things like that. Win conditions are malleable and they will change as the game plays on. It's just something you have to be very considerate of throughout the entire game, really.
And I feel like that's people who are it's people reading too much into what's being said during pro play analysis and everything, because they toss that term around a lot, but they're using it to describe, the specific things that a team needs to do. And they've settled on this term win condition that I don't really like, but I think it's just because they use it way too much.
Maybe.
I have played with a pretty wide range of skill levels and I guess more appropriately MMR levels this season, and I've only ever heard lower MMR players talk about win conditions. The high plat, diamond, master, challenger players that I've played with never mention that type of thing. Like that, they're just not looking at it in terms of this is the one thing that I have to do in order for us to win. It's just very, very dynamic and adjusting to the needs of the game.
I would agree with that statement. A lot of times I'm not looking at, well, here's our one win condition, right? I mean, in some games, sure, like you're playing a 4-tank comp and you have Caitlyn. Yeah, your win condition is making sure Caitlyn doesn't die in your team fights, kind of. But
yeah, or the your Zed is going off and everybody else is going nowhere. Then it's, hey, keep Zed alive, keep Zed going and everything. Because if he goes down, we go down. But like that is not usually most players experience, on an every game basis.
Most cases, it's going to be, well, there's like 40 kills at the 15-minute mark because everybody just trades and everybody has gold at this point. So what's the best way we can maximize this and figure out what we can do that we didn't think we were going to have to do, but we can do now?
I mean, and all paths should be leading to killing the Nexus. If you are looking at doing something else, you're kind of taking the wrong approach to the game.
Yeah, we are not playing a KDA game, unfortunately. Otherwise, I still wouldn't be very good. My KDAs across the board are just abysmal. Besides, like the one Mundo game I played last week where I had a 32 KD.
That's a good game.
That was a hilarious game. But for the most part, like my mains, I think my Jace, I have a 70% win rate now on like 70 games, and it's only like a 3 KDA. It's not
my KDA is pretty good, but that's, I get a lot of assists.
Sure, supports tend to do that. I also tend to get a lot of assists on any champion I play. Just how it goes, I guess.
Yeah, assists still they put money in the bank, baby.
Yep, gold's gold.
All right, and then I guess on that note, it's kind of as we've been getting at, it's time to just roll up your sleeves and get to work because we're entering that home stretch. I came up with a few ideas that we can we can talk about as far as finishing out that grind. If you've been sort of cycling through a lot of different champions, now's the time to, I think, really narrow down on one or two. Santana just raised his hand like he's been cycling through a bunch of champions, but the reality is that until your break, you had been really just playing Jace and Gangplank.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, that was the beginning of the season, and then since then,
that's what you have way more games played on those two than you do on anybody else, and it's not close.
I think also one of the things that kind of inflates my numbers is when we play Flex. We play Flex a lot of times after the podcast, and I end up just filling whatever role we need. And then I just kind of play fun stuff. Like I played the one Mundo jungle game last week. I play a lot of Kindred when we play Flex. But yeah, for the most part, I was playing Jason Gangplank. I've actually gone back to mid lane, and we have decided that we're only going to play Oriana, TF, and Jace. That's it.
When I'm playing solo queue, I lock in Janna. Like I just pick Janna under all circumstances, and you can roll your eyes, but whatever she is,
she's my
crushing
ban.
it.
She's one of my bans now because I just
oh yeah, I would be banning her if I wasn't
fucking
playing
hate
her.
that champion. Nothing's more infuriating than like Mitch is back, hooray!
Finally, sorry guys, I don't know what happened there, but my internet was gone for 12 fucking minutes in the middle of the podcast.
It's all
so
good.
Great.
But I was playing a Talon game, and I was like, nothing's more infuriating than like hopping over a wall, queuing in, getting Janna knocked up, and then as soon as you pop ult, she pops ult, and you're just like, all right, well, I did nothing. That's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Just,
yeah, and nothing feels better than doing that to the talent, I gotta say.
God.
Mitch has been an RE one trick pretty much all season. You know, Adam is back on the Jhin bandwagon. I'm actually not sure he ever left it. We all know how much our beloved Marine Revenge plays Garen, loves Garen. You know, Chira plays a lot of different junglers, but he pretty much only plays Swain top lane, and he's been trying to play a lot more top lane. Punch, whenever he's playing with his flex queue group and they decide they are sick of losing, he plays Camille. You know,
and then we look at some of the high elo players. I mean, if we go over to the KR server, which I tend to get all my builds from and stuff at this point, KT Cal, he's primarily Talia main. I think he has, out of his like 1,000 or solo queue games, he has 400 on Talia. And then our very own NA server, TF Blade was one as an Akali Aurelia 2 trick. And even the rest of them, you go down the list. Everybody's kind of familiar with Viper or Adrian Riven for their Riven, obviously. You see a lot of high elo one tricks because what we talk about this a lot, but what one tricking ends up doing is once you've played enough games on your champion, you no longer have to worry about your micromanagement of abilities, autos, spacing, what I need to be doing in every matchup. That's just muscle memory, and you can more focus on your macro game. You can focus on, well, is this a good time for me to go roam? Is this a good time for me to just push? Can I back at this point? Should I back at this point? And kind of all these other things you can worry about that help elevate your gameplay rather than just worrying about, okay, can I hit my Q on Zed? Or how do I kite as Twitch or whatever? Because you've had all those games already. Now you just have to focus on everything else.
Yeah, that point has come up a lot with what you said. The RE that has obviously been my most played this year, and the switch to mid lane, something that Dom noticed that has primarily happened with RE, not just because she's been my main champion, has been the amount of roams I've made, because it's very easy for me to say I can throw this Q at the wave and I can start walking towards bot lane as it's or at least out of vision as it's coming back to me to get these last hits and start moving and start getting towards that roam just a few seconds quicker. And I love knowing that, but yeah, it requires a lot of, like you were saying, that muscle memory that comes with also like mental memory of being like, that will do enough damage. Because if you don't know that offhand, that's fine. Like, you might not have played the champion enough to know exactly, like people who play champions one trick and play it like a crazy amount know exactly how much damage they can do, but like you start to build up knowing that over time too.
Yeah, for sure.
And we've talked about a lot of champions across, you know, and they're really all over the spectrum at this point and everything. We're not saying run out like this is the list of champions that you should be picking from. You know, find the champion that you just enjoy playing and roll with that champion until it doesn't work, or until it goes into ban prison. Like, and I'm probably going to be running into that. I'm going to need to find somebody else to add because Janna is out of control, and I don't blame people for banning her, and that is why I've been playing her.
The answer's Sona. Just
yeah,
play the coin
I know it
supports
is.
until they
I know it
nerf
is. It's Sona or Soraka, but I'm probably going to lean towards Sona. And that does kind of get to the second point I had in this, which is there are a lot of strong champs that are inexplicably really not being played in bronze, silver, and gold. And I went and checked on the stats of a lot of these, and they are seeing like reasonable. They are being like they're really successful. And they're seeing, I guess, again, statistically significant play rate, but they're not in ban prison, and they don't seem to be at odds of being picked or banned every single game and everything. my list of champs, out of top lane, it was Maokai, Kale, and Pantheon were the three standouts across, bronze, silver, and gold MMR.
I'll agree with two of those. I actually don't think Kale's conducive, especially right now. She's a good tank buster, sort of, but there's a lot of other things you need to be good at with Kale. Ult timings, just even kiting with E, all those other things that's a little too much, in my opinion, at like, if we're talking like straight bronze 5, I would not want somebody like, you know what, I want you to play Kale. I'd rather have you play Pantheon where you just have to point and click Q until they're dead.
Yeah, Kale to me also reminds me of a like I could very much see the situation where somebody puts E on the Kale's A range increaser, starts hitting it a bunch, and then doesn't like stop themselves from hitting once it goes off, and then walks up into like, let's say, a Pantheon, and like walks into melee, and she's like, oh shit, I didn't realize that was gonna go off.
Right.
I'm not.
Yeah, but that
that's
takes
a very
like what,
specific.
three games to figure that out and everything.
Three,
it's not like
three
Kale's, it's
losing
not like
games where
Kale's,
you just
it's not
did
like
that
Kale's
every
learning
single
curve is
time.
that
No,
smooth.
her obviously she's a very also the reason I don't like Kale too much is she's a very binary champion. She does one thing very well, and that's she split pushes. She split pushes very well. And she's kind of a nuisance when she hits 3 items.
I don't know. I think in low MMRs, there's a lot of value to having a get out of jail card for either yourself or a fed teammate.
Sure, but it's also timing that correctly, and that's the biggest part of that. And a lot of people, even at this point, like I don't care how high you go, people don't use Kale ult to its most effectiveness most of the time.
We saw that in Season 5 Worlds when Wicked was terrible.
Oh god, it was awful. But yeah, I know. I think like right now, top lane's really strong. If you want a solo carry, play Pantheon or probably just Pantheon is probably going to be the simplest one for you. But like all the tanks are good out of top lane right now. Maokai, Cho'Gath, Mundo to an extent.
Dr. Fun.
Oh boy, Mundo out of the jungle is. I got to play it for the first time last week. People have been telling me it's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good.
You crushed.
Oh,
it was honestly embarrassing for the other team how bad you crushed.
Yeah, for those unaware, it was like 18-0-14 by the end of the game. I ended up solo killing their jungler because I recognized pathing and how low he was at his red buff after he like level 2 ganked top. It was a weird game overall, but the thing with Mundo is he's allowed to clear pretty safely, and he has a strong clear, especially after he gets Cinderhulk. He's allowed to scale up. Cinderhulk, obviously, Cinder does very well with his passive and his ult and everything Mundo wants to do. The tank items are really strong on him right now, outside of Righteous Glory, but you get faster with ult anyway, so you don't exactly need it. But things like Spirit Visage, Warmogs, Thornmail, Deadmans, they're all great on him. Go ahead, Dom.
Yeah, we talked about Shyvana earlier, and there was a time at least where those two went kind of hand in hand.
Oh, the old was it Season 4 top lane TP smite meta? Yeah. Oh, that was awful.
But it's again out of the jungle. It's just the other tanks: Cho'Gath, Maokai, Sejuani. I mean, they're all doing really, really well, and for some reason, they're just not seeing a lot of play in bronze, silver, gold. I mean, that's just the stats telling a story. Your mileage is going to vary on that, but
right. I mean, if you go down the percentages list, a lot of people, they see all these high elo streamers or pros play these very fancy champions. You see a lot of like Lee Sin still has a really high pick rate. Vayne, Lucian, all these other champions that really aren't super great for the majority of people, but they play them because they enjoy them, or they just see other people play them. And when reality is, if you actually want to climb, you're probably gonna have to play stuff that you might not want to play, but is so strong and just has really good matchups across the board that if you want to do better and you just want to focus on that, those would be the champions you would want to pick up. One thing you left off this list actually is like LS, I push Annie on people because Annie.
Oh yeah, I'm always pushing Annie, but I feel like we've talked about Annie a whole bunch. I left Karthus off the list as well.
Adam's got a huge boner for Karthus. Yep.
Yes, he does. But no, and just going back to the jungle for a second there and everything, like I think a lot of people really get hung up on making flashy plays and being the one that gets all the kills because that feels really good and is fun. Just train yourself to enjoy being unkillable, because that's also really really fun. Just running at people, having all the damage spells come your way, and then be like, yeah, I don't care. Now what are you gonna do? I mean, like that's also really 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 enjoyable, and that's what all of these champions that we listed do really well.
Mm.
Have we had a discussion in the last couple like episodes about like the shift that's happening, like going
Yeah.
towards the tankier, like that makes a lot of sense with a lot of these picks. Like as you go further down, you have like DPS mages and like Sivir, who's, I mean, Sivir was great at the end of last season, if I remember correctly.
He was okay.
Was pretty garbage for most of the season because of lethality coming into the game, and her not handling that super well. And then suddenly we're back into a portion where extended team fights are happening. People who deal like a lot of DPS or are safe or have just health out the wazoo, like are now back into the meta. And that shift has been coming all season. Just with every change to lethality, kept pushing it towards that. Then like Gargoyle Stoneplate came out. Like tons of stuff has just been shifting towards a tankier meta that, you know what, everyone hates a lot of the time. Sorry, I should say it's the meta that people hate on the most is the tanky meta. But then it's like 80 carry because in the like assassin meta, 1 out of 5 rolls is really pissed about it, and it's 80 carry. But in like the tanky role, people can be a little bit more like, damn, I can't kill anybody.
I mean the tank meta, usually ADCs end up saying, I can't do anything, this tank just runs at me and murders me, which is kind of true if they're ahead. But yeah, I mean, I don't like tank metas personally because I think tank matchups are...
You play Jace.
Well, no, Jace does really well in the tanks for the most part, but it's more that it's just boring to play and it's boring to watch. Like, I don't know if you've ever... There was a video that was on Reddit for a little bit when one of the casters made a comment about wanting to see Nautilus versus Maokai just auto attack themselves to death and how long it would take, and he did it. This was when Nautilus was meta, and it took like 20 minutes of just straight autos for one of them to kill it. And it's tanks just don't kill each other unless you have the DPS there, and it's just not fun to watch.
It's like the American football is only rushing.
Yeah.
I like the tank meta, but I've always liked playing tanks. Like those tend to be my preference. The funny part about a tank meta is that when tanks and fighters are really prominent out of the jungle, the shielding and healing supports tend to be a whole lot better. Because just keep the 80 carry alive, and if the 80 carry dies, then keep the tank alive.
Right, and then pray for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Malzahar is actually a really good pick.
He's so good.
Everybody was like, and then he got reworked, and I was like, and then people started playing. I'm like, wait a minute, no, he's actually really good. Then he got nerfed, and then everybody kind of forgot about him. And I still think he's really, really strong.
He's really good.
Is it like so his his DPS like okay, like there's 2 points that I'm not sure which one makes more sense to me as the stronger point.
Okay.
Because there's either the I can lock somebody down with a point and click CC, but it's short range, so that's not necessarily always the thing that you say. Malzahar is great for this because DPS, like with his Voidlings, it's good, but it's not like the DPS of DPS mages. But the other thing is the get out of jail free card he gets every team fight with his passive. That's just kind of built in already. And I wonder if that's like, I think that was the thing that made him very, very good when that first rework happened. Plus the Voidlings just saying like, if I just hit W as fast as possible after my E goes down, suddenly I've got 12 Voidlings hitting this one champion, and they're out of lane because no one knew how to play against it.
Part of it out of mid is that his laning phase is just very, very smooth.
Yep.
It's not hard to farm with him. It's pretty easy to get a lot of harass down on your opponent, so that tends to keep you pretty safe. He's not known for being a mobile champion, but Q gives you vision and brush. So all these things are really working in his favor. And as we've said a billion times, every game has a laning phase. Not every game has a late game. So that's why a lot of people double down and think laning phase is really the most important stage of the game. It's because it's the one that's going to happen. and Malzahar has a really smooth laning phase.
Right, and he also has one of the huge advantages is once he has his first back, he shoves really easy and really efficiently to the point where it's just like, all right, I Q the wave, I W the wave, oh, the wave's gone, great. Now I don't have to worry about this, and I can pressure my opponent under tower. I can look for a roam with flash ult. And also
he's a good objective taker.
He's a great objective taker, and also
neutral, I should say.
One of the best things about him is his build path right now is very tank bustery with Rylai's and Leandry's. So he actually does pretty well as well, and he can peel for your backline.
Why am I not playing Malzahar?
I don't know. Why aren't you playing Malzahar? I don't think he's a terribly difficult champion to pick up outside of getting used to Q timings.
Hey, you guys want to play that tonight?
Sure.
Seems like that's what we're going to do. All right, cool.
Yeah, man.
That was easy.
Yeah. So, yeah, Malzahar, pretty good.
Zilean. There's a lot of value to Zilean in some of the same ways as you were just saying about Malzahar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that he's a tank buster per se, but when people are diving a back line, it's a lot easier to hit those hit the double bombs and get the stun, and also, you know, he's got a built-in big slow, and if the tank can't get onto the priority target, the tank is a lot less useful than he or she really wants to / should be. And then being able to bring somebody back from the dead, if you time your ability right. Yeah, we're getting into Kale syndrome again, I guess, but like that's still a really powerful ability.
It's safe. You're very safe as Zilean, and you're making people safer. Like that's one of the mid like it's not as heavy as safe mid laner as like Karma was about 7 patches ago when she was really strong and played a bunch, but then she got nerfed and her shields weren't so good. And you're like, well, that took away the whole point of playing Karma mid. You just win lane and then you can just do stuff later too. Zilean can do that, except the whole like if you can hit bombs, Jesus, in low elo. You get those 2 bombs, like it's QWQ. That's all you have to do, and suddenly you've just, or is it E? Shit, I think it's QWQ. I haven't played Zilean, but like that's you're done. Like you have one lane by like chunking half their health and stunning them. You can auto attack too if you want for Thunderlords. Go for it.
Yeah, he does a surprising amount of damage for sure.
He fits into basically every comp. Like I think it's impossible to construct a composition that Zilean would be bad or doesn't fit into. He's a nightmare for champions like Darius and Garen, and the other types of champs that are relying on getting that execute or kills for a reset because hey, their big damage abilities it killed somebody, but they're just coming back, and it makes those players really think about what they're doing.
Yes, Mitch.
Karthus Top does not like Zilean on his team because he does not want to be revived.
I mean, reviving Karthus.
No, he said no, pretty much nobody, and I just wanted to refute that, and it was a dumb joke.
Fair enough.
I mean, okay,
I raised my hand for a reason, just so I could do that. This Coors Light is not doing great for me.
Realistically, yeah, if Zilean's your primary damage dealer, probably not a great comp. You guys probably fucked up in Champ Select, but
you're trying to see if you can walk up to the turret and beat it down before the other team kills you, and then run away before they still kill you, and then get to win the game off of like those kind of team fights. But instead, if you can like, I don't know, if like 3 of you can turn into siege tanks from StarCraft, and like the other 2 protect you, then maybe you've got a chance of winning with that comp. But if not, I don't think you got a chance with Zilean as your main damage dealer.
You know what? Listeners, you got 4 friends? Go try it out in solo or flex queue and let us know how your ADC or APZ or APC Zilean games go.
APZ?
Well,
AP Zilean.
He's the AP Zilean. The APZ.
He's his own role at this point. Wait, are we just gonna give shitty challenges while Adam's got? I didn't even know challenges were a thing. So I'm glad that
it just started Monday.
Oh, okay. So we're just gonna put up really bad ones and see if he listens to the episode.
No, he made a list.
There's a list, unfortunately.
We don't have to follow it.
Oh, I know. Believe me, we're gonna get some fun ones, hopefully.
Get some fun text from him in a little bit.
80 carry. Sivir was the only one I had down. We talked about her earlier. I did go through and look, and it seems like most of the strong AD carries are being picked pretty regularly. Obviously, there's still a lot of Lucian players out there, and I'm kind of like, move on.
Oh
He's
God,
struggling right now.
if you're an
He's not a
ADC
tank
player,
buster.
if you're an ADC player, do not play Ezreal. No matter even if the other 12 or 13 ADCs are somehow banned or picked away,
Or you don't own them.
play anything else that is not Ezreal ADC, because
Just do a double cruiser lane or something.
It is almost trolling at this point. It's so bad.
I really don't I tend to be pretty indifferent about my AD carry these days, but I know I'm in for a tough time if Ezreal is the guy that gets picked.
His build path is bad right now. He can't build lethality. He can't build crit. He's got to
build tier.
He needs to scale, and when he's finished scaling, the tanks have 5 items, and then he doesn't do anything anyway. Oh God, Ezreal.
He's not stronger than the other champions on the map when he hits his power spike, and that's what Ezreal kind of leaned on when he was the go-to guy. And yeah, so for supports, it's pretty much anybody that's building Ancient Coin and Ardent Censer. So Janna, Taric, Soraka, Sona. Those items are just way, way, way too strong. We talked at length about Ancient Coin in the past. We haven't talked as much about Ardent Censer and just how good it is. Your teammates are never going to appreciate what Ardent Censer is doing for them, and that doesn't matter because adding attack speed, on-hit damage, and and stealing that on-hit damage for yourself is insanely good for your carries. And if it comes down to it, it's insanely good for a lot of the tanks too.
Right.
Just get Ardent Censer and then pay attention to just how much healing your teammates have done, because it tracks all of that data, and I think you're going to be really surprised because it's really, really powerful.
I think one thing with Censer to keep track of, at least not keeping track of, but at least to be mindful of, is if you have a specific champion, like if you have like a 3 attack speed comp, I don't know how the fuck you end up with that, but if you have that, then you can hit all of your healing buttons, or shield buttons, and just not pay attention to the game. But if you like have somebody specific that you need to be worrying about for those fights, like it may behoove you to, like, if you're Soraka, like focus on your AD carry for those heals, even if they aren't necessarily the person who needs them the most. Like early in the fight, like, oh, that person's only missing like 50 health. Should I heal them or my AD carry? Heal your AD carry, get that Ardent Censer off early in the fight, and suddenly you're just boosting damage like for the entire fight if you keep that up.
Right.
It's ridiculous, but it's like you said, it's hard to quantify because you don't see stats for that. You don't besides a win rate stat that's now like 7 seasons of the game, we can actually look at that hard data and know how well that item is doing when it's being picked. Like before that point, there's no way you would have known, like, oh yeah, Ardent Censer, I guess it's good. Can't tell. Can't see.
Well, it's gone through many different iterations and build path changes.
Oh yeah, Censer's been all.
It's just at a point where it's so good with the meta right now and Ancient Coin and everything else. Just kind of, again, with this, like the tank items, everything came together at once. And they got all these buffs at once, and all the items got buffs at once, and oh look, we're surprised. Ardent Censer, probably one of the best support items, not named Sightstone.
Well, those characters can like sit in the back and not really worry about these lumbering tanks getting to them, because they can just put on their buffs to everybody else and say, I'm gonna make all of my allies like 20% more effective for this entire fight, as addition to whatever else I'm doing.
Yeah.
Well, and they have the abilities to stop those tanks from getting to them. Like, yeah. They don't care if the tanks are running at them. It's like, okay, you're running into everything I want to hit you with anyway, because they're not engaged champs, you know? I mean, yes, Sona can flash engage, but I think people have finally understood at this point that, no, you shouldn't be relying on Sona to be your primary engage method. If you are, follow-up, you're in a lot of trouble. What was that?
Yeah, it's...
Good follow-up, not great primary.
Yeah.
Should we tackle a question or two?
We can do a couple questions.
Sure.
Let's start with this first one. I'm going to butcher your name. Kua.
Kua?
All right. Kua, Kuya, whatever. Sorry. How do you select...
3 letters, dude.
3-letter words tend to be the hardest ones.
How is that wine?
It's delicious.
That's what I thought.
How do you select a main role? I feel like I'm good at mid lane, and I have more impact in solo queue than when I play as ADC. Should I play mid when I solo and then play ADC when I duo with a support? Or should I just stick to ADC the whole time? Short answer.
Play what you like, man.
Yeah, if you're having fun with mid lane, just play mid lane. If you're having fun with ADC, play ADC. If you hate both of them, become a jungler. I mean, it's really just comes down to personal preference. I've bounced around at this point. I've been playing since season 3 preseason, and I've played everything, mained every role multiple times throughout the seasons at this point. Play what you want.
I am sure I've told this story a bunch of times, but I started playing support because I was playing with a group of friends. And my brother and I were both pissed at how the bot lane was going, so he picked up AD carry and I picked up support. And I just really took to the role, really enjoyed it. I've tried switching to pretty much every other role at some point along the way, and I always end up going back to support because I just really, really enjoy playing it.
I would say that besides the actual feeling things, like there you did say you feel that you're good at mid lane, but you feel you have more impact in solo queue when you play as AD carry. Maybe look at those stats. We've been talking about that a lot as well. Like, just go back and look and see if that's actually accurate, because I might feel that I'm doing well on Karthus mid, but if I look at my stats, I'm dying a lot and not doing shit. So, I mean, that's a bad example, but you can at least try to quantify that, as opposed to going with heart-based evidence, which can be good. Like, if you feel better about playing a certain role and you feel more comfortable in it, then definitely do that. But if you're not sure which is correct, and you're just kind of analyzing that from a very, like, I don't want to say high level kind of perspective, but like looking at it in a way that's not analytical, and you can do that. Like, that is another way to take a look and see if you are maybe more effective objectively at one role.
Yeah, I mean, one of the easiest ways is really just take 10-15 minutes and just flip through your replays. I tend to go back through my replays after games while I'm in queue. My queue times aren't forever at this point, but it's enough time to see like what went wrong or what I could be doing better. And that's just an overall improving thing. Is just make sure if you want to improve, make sure you're paying attention to how you play, and not just in the moment, but go back and kind of, after the game's over and you've got rid of all emotions, just settle down and look at the game and see like, oh, well, maybe I feel like I'm okay at mid, but I'm really not doing these things too well. But when I play ADC, man, look at what I'm doing. Just kind of go back and look at that too.
If your duo queue partner is a support main, I don't think you should feel obligated to play AD carry just because of that. As a support main, I actually prefer to duo with a jungler first and foremost, and if it's not a jungler, then mid lane is my second preference. And then, frankly, top lane is the one after that. Like, I don't really care if my duo partner is AD carry. Like, but I've played enough at this point that I'm really comfortable with how laning is going to go. And yeah, it takes a minute to get a read on the person, and maybe you do have an edge going into laning, but you don't have as much feel for what's going on the rest of the map if your battery mate is in the bot lane with you there.
Yeah. All right.
Do you want to do one more? Or,
yeah, let's do one more. Nathan writes, a lot of the time I find myself having to choose between farming and ganking a losing lane. In my opinion, I don't think you should gank losing lanes. I mean, if things go bad, they go really bad. But I have also heard that you should try to help losing lanes out so they don't fall too far behind. What do you guys think?
I have so many opinions on this.
We'll start with the first one, and we'll move to the rest.
All right. I won't say all of them jumbled into
and then we'll stop.
like mixed sentences, and then just and leave it there. One of the issues in solo queue is that people who are in those losing lanes mentally kind of check out. And that happens when they're saying, like, people think, I am not making an impact on this game. Why am I still playing it? Walk up to lane, die to their lane opponent, and then just keep that cycle going, which sucks. And it's very difficult to break somebody out of that cycle. And that's what you're saying is, like, should I go up there? I think it might go really bad. And that would just that would essentially lose you the game at that point. Not just because of one double kill, but it's essentially like so demoralizing. Plus, like, that person's just out of the game. The way that I think of it is, yes, you should not gank losing lanes. Usually you should go for the winning lanes, put them further ahead, ask the other person to play safe. And the thing is, if they fall further and further behind, and let's say top lane is like 5-0, the idea is that if they are the only one who's ahead on their team, or they're the one who is so far ahead on their team that's like it's very obvious they are the strongest, if you kill them, that gold advantage is done, and suddenly your team fight turns from like a 5 or like a 5v5 to like a 5v3.5, because that was that one person who was so far ahead.
Yeah.
Like you can do a lot with that. It's just it's hoping to God that your teammates aren't going to mentally check out of the game because they have fallen behind. Because
Right.
losing lanes, it sucks, and it sucks to feel like you're having no impact. But you gotta, like, anyone who plays this game has to try to get in that mentality. Otherwise, you're gonna have so many games where you just lose the game for your team, just single-handedly.
Even if you are ganking a losing lane, the reality is you still have a numbers advantage at that point. And a numbers advantage is a really, really big deal. This assumes you know where the enemy jungler is, and that isn't always going to be the case. But in the vacuum scenario that's kind of being described, is like you have a numbers advantage. And the other thing to keep in mind is that power spikes are a big important thing. Just because a lane was losing at some point doesn't mean that loss is that gap is as big as you think it is. There's a decent chance that the player is losing because they hadn't hit a critical power spike that they are either close to, have already hit, but they just can't turn it into anything because the opponent's gold advantage has made up for what the power spike would have given them. And that's the type of place where you, the jungler, being there can make a really big difference and turn a neutral situation into a winning one.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to take the middle ground here, and it's very game dependent and champion dependent and how the flow of things is going. As Dom mentioned, if you know the jungler's topside and you're trying to gank topside to help your losing Renekton or whatever, that's probably going to end really badly for you. But if you have wards on bot side and you see jungler going to take golems or whatever, yeah, go ahead and gank top lane as long as they're not like 7-0 and on a champion that can 1v2 very well, such as a Renekton or some of these other bruiser type champions. That's fine to do. But for the most part, look to, if jungler's focusing one side, one lane, or whatnot, you need to look and prioritize, again, getting those other lanes ahead. Because, like was mentioned earlier, if your top laner is really far ahead, but their ADC is really far ahead, well, if your top laner just kills their ADC, now it's a 5v3.5, or even less than that because their top laner is super far behind. So it's reading the game and kind of towing that line between ignoring that lane or just throwing all your resources at that lane.
I do agree with anyone who says, just double down on a winning lane. If there's a losing lane and a winning lane, you know what? Go where your food is and get like fucking fed off that off that winning lane, because that's going to put two of you ahead, and that should be even ground with the two people that are getting ahead from the other lane that was losing. Hopefully, realistically, you're the better players, or hopefully the that third lane ends up being the difference maker as far as that type of stuff goes, and you win the game and everything. But if you have a winning lane, help that lane harder and everything. I really don't like the attitude a lot of junglers take of just falling back to like, well, I can't do anything here, so I'm just going to go keep farming. Farming camps is important, but like the game all season has been about who can gank the most. And the junglers who are good at ganking and who just make most or all of their ganks end up being into successful ganks, they're the ones who end up winning games. I honestly believe jungle is the most important role right now.
Yeah, I mean, jungler has the most influence over the game, and it's not about ganking the most; it's about being efficient. Pathing and being efficient with your ganks is probably the most important thing a jungler needs to get a feel for and learn. Because, yeah, you can just power farm the entire game, and at some point you come out of the jungler a monster, but all your lanes are behind. Or you can gank the entire time, and maybe some of those are successful, maybe some of those aren't. But being able to take all your camps while ganking is one of the hardest things to manage. And if anybody follows the pro scene a little bit, and I'm talking really obscure in the GPL, we saw Levy, if you saw this on Reddit today, he was 200 CS up on his jungler opponent, by the end of the game. It was like a 37-minute game, and he was playing Lee Sin and had like 300 and something CS to the Kane's like 100. Because he was essentially, he got really far ahead in the jungle, got a lot of kills, and just took both sides of the jungle. And he was efficient in how he did it. And that's one of the things that is really, really hard to get a feel for is, well, I'm taking race, but all of a sudden their jungler gang's bot side. Well, maybe I should have seen that that jungler was going bot side or kind of anticipated his movements. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're going to call it at that. Trinity Force Podcast, episode 461.
Woo! Only
Thanks
some
for
audio
tuning
issues.
in. Yeah.
Some
Well,
audio issues,
audio, more internet issues.
some disconnects, no big deal. We got through it like I knew we would.
And that'll explain why I didn't talk for 12 minutes or so for the people who actually listen at home.
For our
We
audio
mentioned it.
listeners, you should tune in live every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Trinity Force or T-Force podcast on Twitch. Get
God,
that-
there's so many different links at this point that are that like if we could normalize them, it would be helpful.
just
but it's
again,
not
just
gonna
kind of
happen.
standardize everything across the board. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But you know, it is what it is.
We'll get the links to Adam's child's name and just be like twitch.tv/child's full name, and that'll just be everything from now on.
Yes,
For the
that will
next
go over
4
well.
months. Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Cool. So yeah, that's it. Cool, guys. Send us emails.
Yep. Feedback at trinityforcepodcast.com. We're gonna, like we mentioned at the start of the show, we're gonna be taking a lot more questions in the next couple weeks as the excitement of season is not quite winding down yet, but we're not gonna get as many shakeups in terms of patches and whatnot. So if you have anything you want to know, whether or not you should play a champion, or if you just want to know what our favorite colors are, you know, just write us in and we'll probably respond to you.
Yeah. And finally, buddhaboxers.com, promo code Trinity Force, not slurred. Don't slur it in the promo code because it probably won't give you that 20% off. I claim nothing, but they're comfy. I have like 5 of them, so do it.
Yeah, they are top-notch boxers.
Yeah, that's it. We're done. Let's go play some games. I'm gonna play Malzahar mid and see how that goes.
Have a good one, everybody. We'll see
Take
you
it
next
easy,
week.
guys. Toodles.
Night.